Captain Deho stared at the screen in the dark control room. Something was wrong with the numbers. The lunar defense grid showed strange readings, like tiny ripples in water. He had seen many things in his 12 years of military service, but never this pattern. "Minji, come look at this," he said quietly. Corporal Minji walked over from her station. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the data. She was the best analyst in their unit, and she could spot problems that others missed. After 2 minutes of silence, she pointed at the screen. "These are quantum signatures," she said. "Something is hiding near the moon. Something big." Deho felt his stomach tighten. Quantum signatures meant advanced technology. Very advanced. Earth had only started experimenting with quantum stealth last year, and they were decades away from perfecting it. If someone else was using it near Earth's orbit, that meant visitors. Uninvited visitors. He picked up the secure phone and called Commander Junho. The phone rang 3 times before a calm voice answered. "Report," Junho said. "Sir, we have detected multiple cloaked vessels near the lunar grid. Technology beyond our current capabilities. They appeared approximately 40 minutes ago." There was a long pause. Deho could hear papers rustling in the background. "Activate protocol silence," Junho said. "I am implementing the GWISM program. Speak to no one about this. I will arrive at your location in 20 minutes. The line went dead. Deho looked at Minji. Her face was pale. Protocol silence meant Earth was under attack. The GWISM program was something they had only heard whispers about. A classified project that supposedly did not exist. Across the planet, in the city of Geneva, Council member Patricia Williams sat in her office reviewing trade agreements. She had worked late into the night, as usual. The Unified Council never rested. Not when humanity was trying to find its place among the stars. She never heard the assassin enter. One moment she was alive, reading about grain exports. The next moment, she was dead. No sound, no struggle. Her security team found her 30 minutes later, slumped over her desk. The medical examiner could not determine the cause of death. In Tokyo, Council member Hiroshi Tanaka died in his sleep. In Seoul, Council member Park Yoonji collapsed during a morning meeting. Within 6 hours, 3 of Earth's 12 council members were dead. The media called it a tragic coincidence. The security services knew better. Commander Junho arrived at the Shadow Response Unit exactly 20 minutes after his phone call. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes that missed nothing. He had served in 3 wars and countless secret operations. When he walked into a room, soldiers stood straighter. "Show me everything," he said. Deho pulled up all the data. Junho studied the screens in silence for 10 minutes. His face showed no emotion, but his fingers drummed once on the table. That small gesture told Deho everything. The commander was worried. "They are called the Vraks," Junho said quietly. "We learned about them from intercepted alien communications 2 years ago. They are assassins, the best in the known galaxy. They have never failed a contract in 300 years. Someone hired them to kill our council?" Minji asked. "All of our council," Junho corrected. "These 3 deaths are just the beginning. They will not stop until everyone on the target list is dead." Deho felt cold. "Sir, how do we fight enemies we cannot see? Enemies with technology we do not understand?" Junho smiled. It was not a happy smile. "We use what we have always used. What humanity has perfected for over 1,000 years. We fight them with silence, patience, and steel." He pulled out a phone and made a call. "Activate all GWISM operators. Authorization code, Shadow Moon Rising. Target designation, Vraks elimination. Rules of engagement, total." Somewhere in the mountains north of Seoul, Sergeant Hyan received a message on his secure device. He was in a small temple, practicing forms with his sword. The blade moved through the air without sound, a perfect extension of his body. He had trained in this temple since he was 7 years old, learning the old ways that most people thought were dead. The message was simple. They have come. You are needed. Hyan sheathed his sword and bowed to his master. The old man nodded once. No words were necessary. Hyan had trained his entire life for this moment. Earth had warriors that the galaxy did not know about. Warriors who did not need fancy technology or advanced weapons. Warriors who could disappear into shadows and strike without warning. The Vrax Syndicate had made a terrible mistake. They thought Earth was weak because humanity was new to space. They thought humans were easy targets because they lacked advanced technology. They did not know that Earth had been perfecting the art of silent killing since ancient times. In his ship above the moon, Vextol reviewed the first day's results. He was a Vrax master assassin with 4 arms and skin that could change color. He had killed over 200 targets in his career. 3 council members dead in 6 hours was acceptable progress, though not exceptional. The humans are primitive, his second-in-command said. Their security is laughable. This contract will be completed within 3 days. Vextel nodded, but something bothered him. The quantum readings from Earth showed unusual activity. Small movements that his sensors could barely detect. Like something was watching them, waiting. He dismissed the feeling. Humans were prey. Nothing more. That night, a Vrax assassin approached the home of council member James Chun in New York. The assassin could phase through walls and become invisible. He had killed 73 beings across 20 worlds. He never saw Sergeant Hyan waiting in the darkness. He never heard the blade that cut through his neck. He died confused, wondering how a primitive human had moved faster than his enhanced reflexes. His body dissolved into quantum foam, leaving no evidence. Hyan cleaned his blade and disappeared into the night. The war had truly begun. Vextel stood in the command center of his ship, staring at the empty space where his assassin's life signal had been. One moment, the signal was active. The next moment, nothing. Just silence. Explain this, he said to his crew. No one could. The assassin had been their best phase walker, able to move through solid matter like it was air. He should have been untouchable. But something on Earth had killed him, and they had no idea what or how. Send a message to the Syndicate, Vextel ordered. Request 30 additional operators. Tell them Earth is more dangerous than our intelligence suggested. His crew looked surprised, but they obeyed. The Vrax Syndicate had never needed reinforcements for a single planet before. But Vextal had not survived 2 centuries by being careless. If humans could kill one of his masters, they could kill more. The reinforcements arrived within 18 hours. 30 of the deadliest assassins in the galaxy, each with different specialties. Some could bend light around themselves. Some could kill from 3 miles away with weapons that left no trace. Some carried poisons that could rewrite DNA and make death look like natural pauses. Vextal gathered them in the briefing room. Do not underestimate the humans, he said. One of our best is already dead. They have capabilities we do not yet understand. Use maximum caution. In Seoul, Hyan met with his team in a basement that official records said did not exist. Jiwon, his scout, was checking her equipment. Taiwan, his demolitions expert, was reviewing building schematics on a tablet. Sunhee, his infiltration specialist, was applying makeup that would change her appearance completely. The aliens have called for more killers, Hyan said. Commander Jungho believes they will accelerate their timeline. We need to hit them harder. Jiwon looked up from her gear. She was small and quiet, the kind of person people forgot was in the room. That made her perfect for her job. I tracked another one to the Gangnam district. He has been watching the subway station for 3 days. I think he is waiting for Council Member Lee. Can you eliminate him? Hyan asked. G1 smiled. Already planned. He will be dead before sunrise. She left without another word. Hyan watched her go, feeling the old pride. These were his people, trained in skills that went back centuries. The galaxy had forgotten that humans were dangerous. They would remember soon. G1 moved through the streets of Seoul like water flowing downhill. She wore simple clothes, carried a shopping bag, and looked like any other young woman heading home late. The Vrak sniper would be scanning for threats from military personnel, for weapons. He would not see her. She found him on a rooftop, just where she expected. His camouflage was excellent, bending light to make him nearly invisible. But G1 was not using her eyes to track him. She was watching the pigeons. Birds always knew when a predator was near, even one they could not see. The pigeons avoided one corner of the roof. That was where the alien was hiding. G1 climbed the building using maintenance ledges. She moved slowly, breathing in rhythm with the wind. The Vraks had sensors that could detect heat and movement, but she knew how to fool them. She lowered her heart rate and body temperature through meditation techniques that were older than computers. She became part of the building, just another piece of metal and concrete. When she reached the roof, she could see the shimmer where the alien crouched. He was focused on the street below, watching for his target. He never considered that danger might come from behind. G1 pulled a thin wire from her sleeve. Monofilament, sharp enough to cut through almost anything. She moved within arm's reach of the alien. His armor was advanced, designed to stop bullets and energy weapons. But it had joints, weak points where the plates connected. One quick movement. The wire wrapped around the Vrax's neck and pulled tight. The alien tried to phase through it, but monofilament existed on the molecular level. There was nothing to phase through. He died in 6 seconds. Too surprised to make a sound, G1 let the body fall into the building's ventilation system, where it would dissolve completely in the industrial chemicals. She climbed down the same way she had climbed up, invisible and silent. Across the city, Taiwan sat in a small apartment surrounded by electronic equipment. He was not building bombs tonight. Instead, he was listening to the Vrak's communications network. He could not break their encryption, but he did not need to. He was listening to the pattern of their signals, the rhythm of their communication. Mathematics was universal. The way intelligent beings structured information followed predictable rules. Taiwan had studied alien psychology at the academy, and he understood something important. The Vraks thought of stealth as technology, not art. They relied on their equipment to hide them. They could not imagine enemies who disappeared simply by understanding how perception worked. He found the pattern he was looking for. A repeating sequence that indicated a safe house. The Vraks used the same mathematical structure for all their secure locations. It was efficient but predictable. Tae-1 sent the coordinates to Sunhee. She would handle the rest. Sunhee stood outside a luxury apartment building in the wealthy district. She wore an expensive dress and carried herself like she belonged there. The building's security did not question her. People rarely questioned attractive women in expensive clothes. The Vrak safe house was on the 43rd floor. Sunhee took the elevator up, smiling at the other passengers. She had spent the last week studying Vrak's biology and chemistry. She knew what compounds they used to mark their territory, what scents they trusted. She had synthesized those scents using natural ingredients. As far as the Vrak's sensors were concerned, she smelled like one of them. The apartment door had 3 types of locks and a biometric scanner. Sunhee bypassed them all using a master key she had stolen from building maintenance. Sometimes the simplest methods worked best. Inside, 4 Vrak's assassins were planning their next operation. They looked up when she entered, but their sensors told them she was friendly, By the time they realized their sensors were wrong, it was too late. Sunhee moved like a dancer, precise and beautiful. 2 poison needles delivered to nerve clusters that existed in most carbon-based life forms. A thrown blade for the 3rd. Her hands for the 4th, breaking its neck with a technique that was 500 years old. The entire fight took 11 seconds. She searched the apartment methodically, downloading data from their computers and photographing their equipment. Then she left, locking the door behind her. The remaining Vracs found the bodies the next morning. They sent an urgent message to Vextal. Earth has silent demons. Our equipment cannot detect them. Request permission to withdraw. Vextal denied the request. The Syndicate had never abandoned the contract. He would not be the first to fail. Instead, he began planning a massive final assault. If humans wanted war, he would give them war. Commander Junho read the intercepted messages and smiled grimly. The Vracs were scared. Good. Fear made people make mistakes. He activated Phase 2 of the GWISN program, sending a simple message to 5,000 operators around the world. The hunt begins. The galaxy was about to learn what Earth really was. The Vracs learned about the GWISN program the hard way. They had planned to strike 50 targets simultaneously across Earth, overwhelming human defenses through sheer numbers and speed. It was a tactic that had worked on 37 other worlds. Earth was different. In Seoul, Agents Kyungmin and Hana coordinated the defense from a tea shop that looked ordinary, but had military-grade communications hidden beneath the floorboards. They did not use encrypted radio or quantum networks. Instead, they used methods the Vracs could never intercept: coded chalk marks on walls, specific flowers in window boxes, and messages hidden in street graffiti. The aliens will attack the embassy at dawn, Kyungmin said, reading a pattern of colored ribbons tied to a fence. They expect 12 guards. They do not know about the 40 operators waiting inside. Hana nodded and sketched a new symbol on a napkin. Within an hour, that symbol would appear in coffee shops across the city, telling other operatives to prepare. The Vracs might have quantum computers, but they could not decode a communication system based on shared cultural knowledge and human creativity. When the Vracs assault team arrived at the embassy, they found the guards exactly where intelligence had predicted. The aliens phased through the walls, confident and quiet. They spread through the building like smoke, heading for the ambassador's quarters. They never reached their target. The operators were waiting in every shadow, every corner, every seemingly empty room. The Vracs found themselves fighting an enemy that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. Blades struck from impossible angles. Wires wrapped around limbs and necks. Pressure points were hit with surgical precision. Within 4 minutes, all 12 Vracs assassins were dead. The human operators cleaned the scene and disappeared before the regular security staff even knew there had been an attack. The same pattern repeated across the planet. Every target the Vracs selected was prepared. Every approach was trapped. Every shadow held a warrior who had trained for years to kill without being seen. In Moscow, Operative Sang-yoon demonstrated why humans were so dangerous. The Vracs had positioned a command ship in low orbit, coordinating the ground attacks. The ship was cloaked, shielded, and protected by security systems that could detect any approach. Sang-yoon did not approach the ship. He had been inside it for 3 days. He had infiltrated during a routine supply delivery, hiding in a cargo container that scans showed as empty. He used an ancient technique called Shinobi Iri, the art of moving and existing in spaces where you should not be. For 72 hours, he had moved through the ship's maintenance tunnels, learning its layout and studying its crew. He did not plant bombs or hack computers. Instead, he simply opened the right airlock at the right time, when the ship's orbit took it through a debris field. The airlock's safety protocols were overridden with a simple mechanical bypass, the kind that no advanced security system thought to protect against. The ship decompressed in seconds. The wrack's crew died without understanding what had happened. Their sensors never detected the human who killed them, because he had never done anything there. Sensors were programmed to notice. The ship tumbled into the atmosphere and burned up over the Pacific Ocean. Sang-Yoon was already on a transport back to Earth before the wreckage hit the water dot in New York. The wracks faced a different kind of nightmare. Sisters Yuna and Bowman had turned the skyscraper district into a vertical hunting ground. The aliens were from a low-gravity world, evolved to move horizontally. They could climb, but it was not natural to them. The sisters had grown up doing parkour in Seoul's urban landscape. They moved up and down buildings like squirrels, using ledges and cables and window frames that the wracks did not even see as paths. A team of 6 wracks assassins entered a corporate tower through the underground garage. They made it to the 20th floor before Yuna struck from above, dropping from a ventilation shaft and eliminating 2 of them before they could react. She vanished up a stairwell before their weapons could track her. The remaining 4 wracks tried to follow, but vertical pursuit was not their strength. Bowman appeared from a window washer's platform, her cables allowing her to swing around the building's exterior. She crashed through a window and landed in the middle of the wrack's formation, her blades already moving. 3 more aliens died in the chaos. The last one fled to the roof, thinking height would provide safety. He found Yuna waiting there. She did not give him time to call for help. The sisters met on the 35th floor, not even breathing hard. 8 more teams heading to different buildings, Yuna said, checking her communication device. Bowman smiled. Then we should keep moving. They disappeared into the city's vertical maze, hunting their hunters dot across the planet. The pattern was the same. The Wrack Syndicate was being destroyed, not by superior technology, but by superior understanding of combat. Human operators used the environment, psychology, and ancient techniques to defeat enemies who relied on equipment and brute force dot in his command ship. Vextel watched his forces disappear from his tactical display. Red indicators blinked out one after another, each one representing a master assassin. Assassins who had never failed before Earth. He finally understood the terrible truth. Humans were not primitive. They had been perfecting war as an art form for thousands of years. They had built their entire civilization on competition, conflict, and survival. Every culture on Earth had developed its own fighting methods, and they had shared and refined those methods across centuries. The Wracks had technology. Humans have mastery. Recall all teams, Vextel ordered. We are withdrawing. His second-in-command looked shocked. Sir, the Syndicate has never abandoned the contract. Never in 300 years. The Syndicate has never fought Earth before, Vextel said quietly. If we stay, we all die. Send the recall order. But Commander Junho had anticipated the retreat. He had been reading Vextel's tactics for days, understanding the alien commander's patterns. He knew exactly when the Wracks would try to flee. The Guizm program had saved their best killers for this moment. Operatives who could fight in space, who could board ships in zero gravity, who could turn every retreat into an ambush dot as the Wrack ships began to power up for departure. Daeho and Minji led strike teams into orbit. They did not use military vessels or conventional tactics. Instead, they used the same principle that had guided every human victory. Be where the enemy does not expect you. Strike before they understand the threat, and disappear before they can respond. The real hunt was about to begin. Daeho floated in the darkness of space, watching the Wrack's fleet prepare to flee. His team of 15 operators hung in the void around him, small and invisible among the orbital debris. They wore simple EVA suits with minimal technology, nothing that would trigger the alien sensors. "Remember," he said over the short-range radio, "they think space combat requires big ships and energy weapons. Show them what humans learned fighting underwater and in close quarters." The team acknowledged silently. Minji floated beside him, checking her blade. It was ceramic, invisible to metal detectors, and perfectly balanced for zero-gravity combat. She had trained for 3 years in neutral buoyancy tanks, learning to fight where there was no up or down. The first Vrax transport began moving toward the jump point. It was a mid-sized vessel, carrying perhaps 40 assassins trying to escape Earth. Daeho's team approached from the shadow of an abandoned satellite, using its mass to hide their heat signatures. They reached the ship's hull and attached themselves using magnetic grips. Minji found an emergency airlock and began working on the mechanism. The Vrax had excellent security against hacking and forced entry, but the airlock was designed to be opened manually in case of power failure. Sometimes the simplest weakness was the most devastating. The airlock cycled open. The team flowed inside like water, moving through the corridors with practiced precision. Zero gravity was their element now. The Vrax stumbled and grabbed for handholds. The humans glided and struck from every angle. Operative Jin Seok led the assault on the crew deck. He had been a deep-sea diver before joining the Guizhen program, comfortable in three-dimensional combat where ordinary rules did not apply. The Vrax expected enemies to move along floors and walls. Jin Seok came from above and below, twisting through the air in ways that confused their spatial reasoning. He killed the first alien with a blade to the joint, where its helmet connected to its armor. The second died when Jin Seok used the first body as a shield and springboard, launching himself at impossible angles. The third and fourth fell to thrown weapons, perfectly calculated for zero-gravity ballistics. In 4 minutes, Jin Seok had eliminated 12 Vrax assassins without firing a single shot. The survivors fled deeper into the ship, sealing bulkheads behind them. But Minji's team was already waiting in the engineering section. Having entered through a maintenance hatch, the ambush was perfect. The Vrax ran directly into human warriors who knew every centimeter of the ship's layout. They had studied vessels like this for months, understanding the design better than the crews who flew them. When the ship was secure, Daeho sent a simple message to the other teams. 1 down. Continue operations. Across the orbital space above Earth, the same scene repeated 15 times. Human operators boarded fleeing Vrax ships using tactics the aliens had never encountered. No massive weapons. No fleet engagements. Just small teams of warriors who understood that the most dangerous combat happened within arm's reach. On another ship, Operative Xiaomin demonstrated a different kind of warfare. She did not fight the Vrax directly. Instead, she walked through their vessel broadcasting messages in their own language, speaking in tones specifically designed to trigger fear responses in their biology. "The shadows have teeth," she said, her voice echoing through the corridors. "You thought you were hunters. You were always prey." She mixed ancient Earth proverbs about death with psychological warfare techniques, creating a message that bypassed rational thought and struck directly at instinct. The Vrax began seeing threats that did not exist, shooting at shadows their own minds created. They killed 3 of their own in the confusion before Soman ever drew her weapon. When she did strike, it was surgical and precise. The aliens were already broken mentally. Finishing them physically was almost merciful. Vextal watched his fleet being torn apart from the inside. Half his ships had gone silent. The others reported impossible situations. Humans appearing from nowhere, fighting in ways that should not work, turning advanced technology into useless decoration. Only 3 of his original 12 master assassins remained alive. The rest had fallen to an enemy they had underestimated completely. The Syndicate's reputation of 300 years was being destroyed in 3 days. He made a decision that went against every instinct. He would crash his command ship into Geneva with its antimatter warheads armed. If he could not complete the contract cleanly, he would at least ensure the targets died. The Syndicate's honor demanded it, but Sergeant Hyon had been studying Vextal since the beginning. He had analyzed every decision, every tactical choice, every pattern in the alien commander's behavior. He knew how Vextal thought, how he would respond to failure, what desperate move he would make. Hyon was waiting on the dark side of the moon, in a facility that the Vrax believed was abandoned. He stood in the center of an empty hangar, his sword at his side. He did not hide. He did not need to. When Vextal's ship landed and the alien commander emerged, Hyon walked forward into the light. The two warriors faced each other across 20 meters of dusty ground. "You knew I would come here," Vextal said. "It was not a question." "I know how warriors think when they face defeat," Hyon replied. "Honor demands a final gesture. I am offering you a choice: death in combat, as your culture respects, or capture and humiliation." Vextal's forearms moved to his weapons. "You are brave for a primitive." "We are not primitive," Hyon said softly. "We have simply been doing this longer than you have." The fight began. Vextal was fast, enhanced by technology and genetic modification. He moved like lightning, his weapons creating a deadly pattern around him. In 300 years, no one had survived facing him in direct combat. The fight lasted 17 seconds. Hyon did not try to match Vextal's speed. Instead, he read the patterns, understood the rhythm, and found the spaces between the attacks. His sword moved once, twice, 3 times. Each strike hit exactly where it needed to, bypassing armor and technology through simple geometry and perfect timing. Vextal fell to his knees, dying. His eyes showed confusion, even at the end. He had been killed by techniques that were simultaneously ancient and completely new to galactic civilization. His last thought was a question he could not voice. How did they become so good at this? Hyon recovered the antimatter device from the ship and disarmed it. He called Commander Junho with a simple report: target eliminated. Threat neutralized. The remaining Vrax ships, seeing their leader was dead and their fleet destroyed, did something unprecedented. They broadcast a surrender signal on all frequencies. The most feared assassins in the galaxy were begging Earth for mercy. Junho smiled when he heard the transmission. The galaxy was about to learn an important lesson. Earth did not just survive threats. Earth eliminated them completely, using methods that ancient warriors would recognize and modern soldiers would admire. The stars had underestimated humanity. They would not make that mistake again. Commander Junho stood in the detention facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, looking at the 47 surviving Vrax assassins through reinforced glass. They sat in cells designed to hold beings far more dangerous than regular criminals. Each cell had technology to prevent phase shifting, light bending, and every other trick the aliens possessed. The Vrax looked broken. These were killers who had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, reduced to prisoners on a world they had dismissed as primitive. Some stared at the walls. Others kept looking at the doors, as if expecting rescue that would never come. Junho activated the communication system. His voice filled every cell simultaneously. "I am Commander Junho of Earth's Shadow Response Unit. You came to my world to kill our leaders. You believed we were weak. You were wrong." The Vrax looked up at the speakers. Some showed defiance. Most showed fear. "Your syndicate has operated for 300 years without failure. That reputation is now destroyed. Of the 83 assassins you sent to Earth, only 47 survive. The rest were eliminated by warriors using techniques your civilization has never encountered." Junho paused, letting the words sink in. "I am going to release you. All of you. You will return to the galaxy and deliver a message. The Vraks looked confused. In their culture, defeated enemies were killed. Mercy was unknown. Tell the galaxy that Earth is not to be attacked. Tell them we have been preparing for war since we learned to sharpen stones. Tell them our warriors do not need advanced technology because we have mastered the art of combat itself. Tell them that the quiet species from the third planet is the most dangerous military power in the local cluster. He leaned closer to the camera. And tell them this. If anyone comes for us again, we will not just defend ourselves. We will hunt them. We will board their ships, infiltrate their facilities, and eliminate their leadership. We will do it quietly, efficiently, and completely. Just like we did to you. John-Ho gestured to his guards. Prepare them for transport. They leave in 3 hours. The Vraks were loaded onto their remaining ships under heavy guard. As they departed, their communications automatically broadcast a detailed report of what had happened on Earth. The message spread through the galactic network like fire through dry grass. Within days, every major civilization had seen the recordings. Humans boarding ships in zero gravity using nothing but blades and tactics. Humans disappearing into urban shadows and eliminating targets with impossible precision. Humans turning the galaxy's best assassins into confused victims. The political calculations across 100 worlds shifted overnight. Earth was no longer the primitive newcomer to be exploited or ignored. Earth was a threat, a power that fought wars in ways that made advanced technology seem almost irrelevant. Trade delegations began arriving at human space stations, seeking agreements and alliances. Military observers requested permission to study human training methods. Whole civilizations that had dismissed humanity suddenly wanted Earth as a friend rather than an enemy. Daeho and Minji were promoted to head the new Extraterrestrial Defense Intelligence Division. Their first task was creating protocols for dealing with alien powers that now approached Earth with respect instead of contempt. It is strange, Minji said, looking at the diplomatic requests piling up on her desk. A week ago, they ignored us. Now they want to learn from us. Daeho smiled. Fear is an excellent teacher. They finally understand what we are. Sergeant Hyan refused all promotions and medals. He returned to his temple in the mountains, where a new class of students waited. Young men and women who wanted to learn the old ways. The skills that had saved Earth when technology was not enough, that he taught them the same lessons he had learned. Patience, precision, and the understanding that the best warrior is the one the enemy never sees coming. Technology could be countered. Skill and knowledge could not. Jiwon, Taiwan, and Sunhee became instructors at the Guizhen Academy, training the next generation. They also began teaching alien species who requested Earth's assistance. The first class included warriors from 6 different worlds, all wanting to understand human combat methods. It was difficult teaching aliens that stealth was not just technology. It was art, psychology, and deep understanding of how minds worked. But the students learned, slowly grasping concepts that seemed impossible at first. On a space station orbiting Mars, young trainee Yeonwoo practiced his blade work in a traditional dojo that had been rebuilt in zero gravity. The sword moved differently here, requiring new techniques that combined ancient forms with modern understanding of physics. His instructor, Soman, watched from the observation deck. She had returned from her latest mission 2 days ago and still carried the quiet intensity of combat in her eyes. She nodded approvingly as Yeonwoo completed a difficult sequence. Better, she said. You are starting to understand that the weapon is not the blade. The weapon is your mind. Yeonwoo bowed and continued practicing. In the corner of the dojo, a Vraks observer watched in barely concealed terror. His name was Kex, and he had been part of the original assault on Earth. He had surrendered and been released. But instead of fleeing back to Vrak space, He had requested permission to study at the Guizin Academy. The other Vraks thought he was insane. He thought he was being practical. If you could not defeat an enemy, you learned from them. Your student shows promise, Keck said to Soman, careful to use respectful language. Soman glanced at him. He has been training for 6 months. You have been training for 2 weeks. What have you learned? Kex hesitated. That everything the Syndicate taught us was wrong. We believed stealth came from technology. You showed us that stealth comes from understanding perception, psychology, and environment. We thought ourselves apex predators. We were amateurs. Good, Soman said. The first step in learning is admitting ignorance. The second step is practice. Go join Yanwu. Work on your basic forms. Kex moved to the practice area, his forearms moving awkwardly through techniques designed for human anatomy. It would take years before he mastered even the basics. But he would try, because the alternative was facing humans in combat again, and he knew how that would end. In the station's command center, Captain Deho reviewed reports from across human space. Alien civilizations were adapting to Earth's new status in unexpected ways. Some requested defensive pacts. Others wanted to hire human trainers for their own military forces. A few had even asked if Earth would consider joining a defensive alliance against a mutual threat in the outer systems. We went from ignored to essential in 3 days, he said to Minji. She smiled. Because we reminded the galaxy of a simple truth. Advanced technology is worthless if you do not understand the fundamentals of combat. They forgot that war is ultimately about will, skill, and determination. We never forgot. Do you think they will try again? Someone else, I mean. Some other species that thinks they can take us? Minji shook her head. The Vraks were the best. Everyone knows that. If Earth can destroy the Vrak Syndicate using nothing but ancient techniques and human warriors, then no one will want to test us. Fear is better than any defensive system. On Earth, Commander Junho gave his final briefing to the Unified Council. All 12 members sat in the chamber, alive because of the Guizin program. They listened as he explained what had happened, how humanity's oldest traditions had defeated the galaxy's newest threats. The program will continue, Junho said. We will keep training operators in the old ways, combining them with modern knowledge. We will be ready if anyone threatens Earth again. Council member Lee spoke up. Is this the future you see for humanity? Always preparing for war, always ready to fight? Junho was quiet for a moment. The galaxy is a dangerous place. We learned it when the Vraks came, but we also learned that humanity has gifts other species lack. We have thousands of years of combat evolution, hundreds of different martial traditions, and a culture that has always valued warriors and their arts. That is not something to hide. That is something to be proud of. But we can also be teachers, he continued. Already, other species are asking to learn from us. We can share our knowledge, build alliances, and create a galaxy where skill matters more than raw technology. That is a future worth building. The Council voted unanimously to expand the Guizin program and establish the Academy as a permanent institution. Earth would be a warrior culture, yes, but also a teacher and a leader. Far out in the galaxy, in a dark station where the Vrak Syndicate had operated for centuries, the surviving leaders gathered to discuss what had happened. The destruction of their Earth operation had been total and humiliating. We must rebuild, one said. Find new contracts, restore our reputation. The eldest leader, a scarred veteran of 500 missions, shook his head. No, we adapt. The galaxy has changed. Earth has shown us that our methods are outdated. We either learn from them or we become irrelevant. You want us to learn from humans? Another leader asked, shocked. I want us to survive, the elder said. And survival means recognizing when a superior force has emerged. The humans are not our enemies unless we make them so. They could be our teachers. Or we can ignore them and wait for another species to challenge us using human techniques. Your choice. The Syndicate voted something they had not done in 200 years. Asterisk.